This episode of Juices the New Tea is brought to you by A&G Wallpaper. Looking to transform your space without a full renovation? A&G Wallpaper brings your vision to life with precision, care, and attention to detail. From bold statement walls to subtle textures, they handle it all. Reach out to A&G Wallpaper and elevate your space today. Visit our show links for more details on booking and consultation. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Juices the New Tea. I am your host, Eleni Simos, also known as the Clean Eating Chick. And joined with me today, she is the founder of Rooted Architecture Studio, Miss Katherine. I'm so excited to have you on the show today. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I met you a couple of months ago.
Yes.
We were connected. Honestly, don't even remember how we were connected, through just like female business ownership kind of networking. And I had a conversation with you, and I knew a little bit the background of what it was that you did. And we just had a great conversation. And then you started to talk to me about just designing for neurodiversity.
Yeah.
And that concept, I had never had like a phrase to attach why in certain spaces I feel more inspired or more focused or maybe even constricted and low energy.
Yeah.
And we just connected and over that topic.
Yeah.
And it was just so organic. And I'm like, I have to have you on the show because this is so interesting.
Yeah, it's such a good topic, and not many talk about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, personally for me, I don't know many people that talk about it, but it is, again, like that kind of notion where it's an unexplainable feeling when you enter certain spaces, whether it's your workspace, your home space, you feel more relaxed or you feel more energized. And I think in a world where we are so overly stimulated and we are all very focused on neurodiversity, neurodivergent, such a buzzword right now. So when you were coining that phrase to me and you were talking to me about it, I was like, oh my God, that explains so much and that's so interesting. Yeah. And just to kind of bring it home a little bit, so I want to get right into it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So neurodiversity, right? That was, like I said, a buzzword right now. What does that mean to you for anybody that might not know what neurodiversity means?
For me, and this is based on my research and understanding, neurodiversity just means that your brain processes things or has different neural pathways than what people call neurotypical.
Yes.
And I feel like even then all around it's a spectrum, and it's really a big umbrella because it includes depression, anxiety, autism, ADHD, Tourette's, PTSD and other elements. So it's just like your brain, we're all unique individuals.
Absolutely.
So everyone's brain circuits work differently.
Right. So it's like if we're all, for me, when it comes to the concept of nutrition, right, I focus on bio-individuality. What works for you is not what's going to work for me. What works for me is not going to work for you. So why wouldn't that just also translate to the way that our brains function and the way that we process information? And even, again, like what could be more stimulating to someone and more energizing to someone would be the complete opposite for somebody else. Yeah. So interesting topic to be, thought of in so many different avenues, but specifically when it comes to design and architecture, right? Yeah. So what gave you this idea to design specifically for neurodiversity?
It started, I think, as most entrepreneurs or people who go into something, starts with like personal stories. Totally. So for me, around the time I went into entrepreneurship and started my own firm, I went into my own health wellness. A lot of it was mental health. And really focusing and understanding that I grew up with a lot of anxiety. Yeah. I also have OCD and a little bit of synesthesia, like the color. And I have family who are nonverbal, autistic, or high functioning, ADHD. So I grew up around, I guess, neurodiverse people. Yeah. And we all are quirky. We all have our unique ways of like, I like this type of space, they don't. And once I started diving into my own wellness, I'm like, wait, how does my profession help guide or aid this? And that's where I started looking into that. And at the end of the day, it was all about sensory friendly spaces. How do you actually design with the senses in mind?
Which I think is such a niche topic. Yeah. Like not many people talk about that or, even use that in the approach of design or even just the spaces that they find themselves in.
Yeah.
So do you think that people underestimate the impact that their environment has on their mindset?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think like the health and wellness world is so massive now. It's not just up and coming. It is the thing.
It's everything.
Yeah, it's everything. But most of the time we talk about, what's on our, beauty products, what do we eat, exercise, but we don't talk about the spaces we're in. And that really affects us so much.
Totally.
Like I did a post the other day. It says like the average person spends only 12 minutes outside.
What?
Yeah, the average person spends only 12 minutes outside, like worldwide. So the idea is like we are living creatures. We are part of the living environment, but we put ourselves in boxes.
Yeah, we don't interact with with nature the way that I feel like we should. I saw something, I think it was yesterday, that was like going for a walk outside is like scrolling with your body. And there was just something about it that was so triggering. I'm like, damn, that's so true and so sad. And we are constantly all looking at screens.
Yes.
That like yesterday we were just kind of talking about this a little bit. Like we all kind of, it seems in the studio, gave ourselves a time to disconnect and just immerse ourselves in nature, which is so important.
Yeah.
And I want to talk to you a little bit about like integrating nature into the spaces. We'll talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I'm into this. We're already kind of jumping ahead.
Yeah.
But so what are some of the traditional ways that spaces could fail people when it comes to neurodiversity?
Touching base on this, it's sensorial, but also it's creating clear and predictable spaces. Starting with the senses is like all five of them. Like when it comes to vision, light is so important and key.
Yeah.
We live in a world that kind of creates sterile spaces now. We all have this cool light.
Yeah.
I mean, even in the studio, we have the cool light, but we need it because of what we're recording.
But people are under this type of lighting all the time. And they're also like pushing a more cost efficient way of integrating this lighting in your home.
Yeah.
And being under this lighting 24/7 also inhibits certain hormone production in your brain.
Yeah. And I think I always also say like once you design for like people who are neurodivergent or like the one that struggles most, it will positively affect everyone else.
Yeah.
So the idea is like the circadian rhythm of like lighting. So bringing in a lot of natural light is so important. It makes such a huge difference.
Totally.
That's actually very cost effective. Spend more time outside or add windows to your spaces or mimic natural light. There are lights that change throughout the day to mimic nature.
Okay.
And then it's like through colors too. Like for neurodiversity, you want to stick with more pastel colors. So
like the studio.
Yeah, like and the idea is also not to be too neutral. Like neutral's good, but then for other people, like for me, I get anxious being too long in an all white room. I need color, but I have like synesthesia. So like I process
synesthesia.
Yeah, it's a little bit. So I process things in colors. So I color code. My teachers in college hated me because I used to design through different layers of colors.
Whoa.
So I'm like, I had a rainbow, but together everything overlaid and became a building.
Wow.
But wrapping it back to the color. So like say orange is, people are like, oh, orange, no one really likes it. But if you use some really nice pale orange, it actually promotes appetite. So there are kids who are autistic who have trouble eating. So even using certain colors like that can promote that. Blue, of course, is calming. Green creates security. Pink as well. It promotes creativity with purple as well. I think the more feminine colors kind of create, it's feminine energy, creativity, blossoming, and just integrating all of them. So you don't want to be neon. You can use deep colors, but I think pastels work the best, especially for kids when you don't want them to get overstimulated. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that I remember, I think one of the first memories I have about marketing and me kind of when I was younger realizing that like fast food wasn't the thing that I wanted to do. I remember reading that that's why most fast food places have really bright colors to keep you like this overly stimulated or like encouraging appetite or just even not wanting to make you be in an environment where you feel like you want to stay. That's why it's like you go in, you eat, then you dip. Like you're not staying there to like feel relaxed or feel like you can take your time in this space. So that's so interesting. For me, when we first connected, I had shared with you like a couple of years ago, I've moved around a lot in my life. I've moved in many different spaces. And most recently, I moved into my beautiful condo that I'm so grateful for. It's on the water, and I need to be near water, and it's plenty of natural lighting, and it just feels like such a sacred space for me.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was living in an environment that I didn't really have control over the design, the lighting, the warmth, so many different aspects of that. And I still had access to the condo, right? So my sister was living there. So when she wouldn't be there, I would go like almost like hide out in the condo. And it was so interesting. Of course, like there's external factors, right? Like who you're living with, the energy of other people impacting your emotional, right, mindset, your vibration, everything. But anytime, like I know I'm very sensitive to my environments. I think that's also just like being empathic. And most people don't realize how sensitive they are to the energy of others and just their surroundings. But whenever I would go to the condo, and now I get to live there full time, thank God. But my nervous system would just like, I would just feel my body like relax and open. I would also feel so connected to my source of inspiration and creativity whenever I would be at the condo. Like I would just find myself writing more. I would find myself just stretching naturally, like doing yoga throughout the day. And it wasn't like that in my previous living environment. Like there was so much more constriction, and I just felt like never really comfortable. And it's so interesting how moving into this space now, I've been there for a year in my own space, how that has elevated just my personal life for sure, but also my professional life. Like me just having a higher like level of inspiration and creativity and just feeling more in flow and how much my space has impacted that.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's so layered. It's also connected to your memories of that space. But I'm like you, I'm very empathetic, and I have to be by water.
Yeah.
So water actually, it helps remove those layers of energy. And I live close to the water. I have to be close to it, or I listen to it. So that's another thing with the senses. Sometimes we can't change certain things, but why not have a small water feature? Have white noise, acoustics. How can we quieten down the mind with like making the room more quiet and things like that?
Also, too, I think, I'm very blessed. Like I don't have the lights on during the day. I don't need to because the amount of natural lighting that comes into my space is like it also very cost efficient. Like I'm grateful for that because Con Edison, damn.
Yeah.
But it's also just like the visibility, like you said, of just being able to see the water. Also at night, I don't even put overhead lights on at night. And I feel like there's a lot of information now coming out about like you should just be in softer lighting. Your like desk lamps or just something like standing lamps, have those on. Red light. Do you have any thoughts on like red light therapy or just like red light or alternate type of lighting color in your space, how that could like impact your brain?
Yeah, I think it's similar to like the idea of like the color of your walls. So I think red light, it is great like for, your skin and everything, but also it calms you down. Like I purposely have a much warmer a light at like my night table, and then I turn I just have that one light on like an hour before I go to bed to calm my brain down because you have so many stimulations. So red is just, it calms you down when it comes to like lighting all around. Of course, blue, if you really want to focus, you can use it intentionally, but don't overdo it. That's the downside of the screens. Like I always
the blue light
put the overlay so it's warmer.
I wear my little blue light. Cute little glasses make me look like a librarian.
I love it. I love it.
But no, I mean, that's like, I remember when I first got those blue light glasses, it was years ago. And I put them on and I was really conscious of wearing them. I got them in 3 different types and I would put them all around the house. So no matter where I was, it was like they were always within reach. So I would wear those and I would notice that I would get more tired quickly looking at my screen. And I remember telling a couple of people that and they thought that was a downside. And I'm like, no, that's your eyes actually getting tired. That's your brain producing the melatonin that the blue light is blocking. So you need that blue light resistance because we are looking at screens all the time. If we're not looking at our phones, we're looking at our computers, our TVs, whatever it is. So you're saying blue is for focus.
Yeah, like if you want to stay focused or alert, like have that, but then also have that transition time because you don't want to, it's like coffee. You don't want to drink a double espresso at like 6 p.m. if you know you're going to be wired till like 3 a.m.
Yeah.
It affects you the same way. But it's also one thing that I also think about is lighting affects your room. Like the temperature of the light affects your room. Because like you can have a very nice like warm, say gray tone because you want something muted. But then the minute you put a bright light, that wall looks cool. And then if you're not good with cool tones or it just gives you something different. So you have to kind of interconnect everything. The color of the walls integrated with what type of lighting you have in the room. Ooh. All of that's like
its own. That's why we just have to hire you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's all integrated. So it's like, just let me figure it out for you. And then you just like tell me, do you like it or not?
So no, for sure. I mean, growing up, my mom would always like make fun of me that like gray was my comfort color. Like anytime I just wanted to be like comfy, cozy, I would just be in a gray like big hoodie. And it's so interesting now, like the walls of the condo, they were already painted before I moved in and they're all gray. They're all like a light gray. So that's, I mean, the space gives me a sense of comfort and connection and just like such coziness. Like I can really relax there. Sometimes I feel like too relaxing. So how can you maybe invite some like design ways to maybe energize a space?
Yeah. So again, it depends. So like if someone is ADHD, they need to be somehow parallel stimulated to do something else. So like maybe you do need to design a space where it's not too quiet. You can hear the birds outside because it becomes that second nature. So like there's a study that kids who have ADHD, if they allow them to wear one headbud to put some type of sound during school, they actually do better.
Oh, I love
because
that.
ADHD, you have that multiple stimulation, or you can go into tunnel vision and you're like already there and then you can't get distracted. But someone like who gets like me, who gets anxiety and kind of needs that like clarity and focus, what's worked for me more, it's like having Hertz music or having
like
some
healing
sort
frequencies.
Healing frequencies, or even I like bright light, like natural light. I won't need to be near the natural light. And also like textures. Like I think this is connecting what we were going to go into, like nature. Like natural elements provide that positive energy too. So like the idea is like even if you bring that into your interior elements, it will help you become more creative and so forth. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. So I remember when we first connected, I had just watched, guys, don't judge me, but I had just watched on YouTube, Paris Hilton did like a whole neurodiversity like segment or something where she was redesigning her home.
Yeah.
And I'm a sucker for her. She's such a weirdo and she's entertaining to watch. But she's very outspoken about her being ADHD. I guess like it runs in her family and her mom, her sister, they all have it. Yeah. So she worked with an interior designer, a little bit different than what you do because it's architecture, but she worked with an interior designer to basically revamp her space, her closet specifically, and like something in her kitchen, her pantry, because for her specific brain type or her ADHD in general, I don't want to make a generalization, so I'm not sure, but things needed to be exposed for her to see what she had access to. Yeah. Sometimes I feel like I need that. Like I'll leave things out if I don't leave them out to see them, I'll forget about them. Can you talk a little bit about like how you can integrate something like that design wise? Yeah.
So and architects do like interior design. I think where we break off is like I won't do your furniture selection and procurement, but I'll do the finishes, and vice versa. Interior designers can do some layouts just to touch base. But I love how like she kind of approached it that way, and to be more specific in terms of like making sure you're like focused and you get things done, because time is money, especially if you're an entrepreneur. So a lot of people can think of like, oh, just put a label or like have, but you can color code. You can make it beautiful. I think it's beautiful. Like say in bathrooms, you have multiple kids, you can color code things, or in the kitchen, it's those open shelves. I love them. You can organize them, but also have those things that you don't want to see that's messy, like have them hidden, but have those organizers. Like, I know it's like going too far. Like, do we all need to really be super organized? But it creates clarity. Absolutely. Like predictability. And actually, there's been studies. So I took a class earlier this year on neuroscience and architecture. Amazing. Because it's all integrated. And they talked how as we get older, we need more predictable routines. And for people in the neurodiversity spectrum, that it's already like from the beginning, you need predictability. So how can you make sure, say, okay, I know the pots go here. I know my sequence in the kitchen. I go to the left. That's where all the pots are. I go to the right. That's where my knives, forks, etc.
Yeah.
So being intentional with designing your kitchen, if you're able to redesign the whole thing, like, what's your process? That's just the whole idea. Like, because I think the biggest thing is we need to design to the people using the space. I think we've gotten too far with HGTV or this multi-commercialized modernism that everyone's just a pretty Pinterest image.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, will that actually function for you?
Yeah. I also read something that the open concept is like taking away the character when it comes to design and is also not for everybody.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about that.
It's so layered. Like
surface or like in layman's terms or your perspective on it.
Yeah. So my perspective on it is like open concept. It's great if you're someone who is into minimalism. Yeah. You don't need too much separation between the public and private spaces. Even then, we can just keep all public spaces together and then create, a transition into like the bedrooms not really being open to that for the noise. But I think it's also cultural because open spaces are being pushed down everyone's throat. Like, it's marketability, this and that. But in today's day and age, real estate is such a big value to your net worth that you're probably going to keep that property. So why not design it to your needs? Like, I designed a home where I did an addition where they had a semi-open concept, but they wanted to actually isolate the kitchen because they cooked a lot. They were Latin. They actually were Salvadorian like me. And we cook a lot of food with a lot of spice. And they're like, we don't want those smells lingering in the space. Also, the fumes, like when you're cooking, all those fumes, if you don't have a good exhaust vent, you're gonna actually get sick because you're gonna ingest all those fumes. So we designed a kitchen that's separated, but we still had like a glass door where you had the visual, but everything was separate. It had windows. It vented out to the outside. It connected to their deck so they could grill and use the kitchen. So like things like that, like who needs it, who's using it. I think also a lot of people in today's day and age, people are living multi-generationally. If people are autistic, they're still living with their parents, or, if layers of the neurodiversity spectrum, they still need some support. So when you live multi-generationally, you need those separate private spaces. Yeah.
I know for me growing up, in my kitchen, in my family home, there was a cutout in the kitchen that you could see the dining room and the living room. And I remember loving that because I liked feeling connected to my mom or whoever was in the kitchen when I was in the living room, like watching TV. Like, I don't know if I necessarily would need a full open concept, but I do think that there is something to be said about just like if multiple people are in the home, of course you want to have some spaces that are broken off for privacy and just like for you to feel like if you need your solitude, but connection for me is important. So like having that kind of openness, I remember like always made me feel safe growing up.
I love that. Yeah. And I think it's also about the having it. I always talk about when doing diversity, it's like you want clear, predictable like spaces, but also flexibility. With the idea of like, can we have barn doors or pocket doors that can open and close and create that privacy, separation, or openness between the dining room and the kitchen or the living room? Like, there are design elements that you can have the flexibility, and it really helps, people using it in different cases. If you're having a big family party, we open everything. If you're trying to do something small and your kids are trying to do homework in the dining room, maybe you close half of it and you just visually see them a little bit. Yeah. There's so many ways that you can have that flexibility.
Totally. Do you have any insight or like perspective on positioning certain pieces of furniture or tables for eating, dining, facing certain like north, east, southwest? Like, do you have any thoughts on that in terms of like feng shui a little bit? I know we touch on like, you have a different approach. It's not feng shui. It's more the Ayurvedic approach, right?
Yeah. So I am not fully certified, but it's something that I'm interested to dive deeper because I never stopped learning. But yeah, so there's feng shui. There's also Vastu Shastra. I think that's Indian descent.
Okay.
And it also talks about the cardinal directions and different placements. And it also goes more on the spiritual end, you know, like we talked about this, how like, you know, always close the lid in the bathroom. And there's a certain quadrant that you shouldn't put your bathrooms because then you're actually draining money or the energy from your home. But generally the idea is in school we learn about, you know, the direction of the sun and how the light comes up and, you know, how we create design louvers, like how do we create shading in buildings? You know, usually you put shading vertically on the east and west, horizontally in the south.
Whoa.
And then you try to, if you want like indirect lighting, you do windows in the north. But if you are in a very wintry space, like I remember I did a case study in Madison, Wisconsin, we put no windows in that north wall because it was so cold.
If your home or workspace doesn't feel aligned, it might be time to reimagine it. Rooted Architecture Studio specializes in designing environments for wellness and belonging. From offices to homes, they make sure your space feels grounded, intentional, and uniquely you. From concept to completion, they bring your vision to life with purpose and care. Check out www.rootedarchitecturestudio.com and start designing a space that truly supports and inspires you. If your walls are feeling a little uninspired, it might be time for a refresh. A&G Wallpaper specializes in clean, seamless installs that instantly upgrade any room. Trust the professionals and give your space the glow up it deserves. Contact A&G Wallpaper today and tell Sal that the chick sent you. Juices the New Tea is brought to you by Cleanse Juices. For more information on 3-day juice cleanses and 4 flavor packs, visit iamcleanse.com. Use code JUICESTheNewT for 10% off all orders.
So going into actual spaces based on lighting, you want the kitchen or your breakfast area in the east because that's when you wake up. Because the earlier you see light, the more you're waking up. You're then want to eat, and then that's kind of like the location. And then on the south side, you do want to have your bedrooms there, so you kind of want to have this complexity of getting the full spectrum of the light. Yeah. My bedroom faces the south. Thank God I have 2 beautiful windows. And then in the west, that's where you kind of want to have the family room or the living room because you're there in the evenings. You want that like later night slowing down following like how the sunset. So then your body gets that cue. Oh, it's the day's ending.
Right.
Yeah.
It's time to wind down. It's time to relax. Are there any specific design elements, like maybe just, I don't know if in terms of lighting or furniture or I know you even mentioned something about backsplash, like certain backsplashes in the kitchen could could entice like hunger or creativity. I think like you mentioned that on the first time we connected. There was something about that.
Yeah, it's like the texture or the color, like orange or just bringing in patterns that invoke like hunger. Yeah. Like being fun and creative. Like I'm done with the white tile, white everything. It's like you can use
it also just shows dirt so much faster.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's like efficiency. Like if you use I'm all about like invest upfront and then like reap all the benefits down the line. So it's like if you do like a solid slab, it can be like a really nice natural texture, and then it's easier to clean. You don't have the little grouts that you have to go in and clean, or you can be intentional with the grout line being darker, not just go with white. Right. But I think I don't recall exactly what I said in regards to the backsplash, but I know it is texture. Like we want to play with the soft and the patterns. For neurodiversity, just kind of linking back, textures do attract your focus a lot. So sometimes if you're trying to get someone who is ADHD to focus, you don't want to have too many patterns. Yeah. But maybe there is a pattern on the wall where the TV is or like the monitor is in case they need to pay attention. It gives enough stimulation for them to stay focused on that wall rather than looking at the side walls where maybe the pattern is elsewhere.
Right, as like a form of distraction, like in the peripheral.
Yeah.
what are some subtle design choices that we can incorporate, like little hacks maybe, to prevent overstimulation?
I think lighting is number one thing. Now it is easy to go to like Home Depot and get dimmable switches and switching them up. Also, they do also sell the light bulbs that change temperature. So that's a hack of like, how do you follow the circadian, like natural lighting? Your circadian rhythm would like now actually be in tune what we should be in tune with.
Yeah.
Other little hacks could be how can you create a space that calms you? So like actually look within and reflect. Like I'm big on plants. So and I love the color green. I use plants intentionally in locations to just calm down, or the idea of like put your desk by the window, look at like by the water.
Yeah.
And then being intentional where you create those moments.
So I'm glad that you just brought that up, because my office room, the way that it's laid out, I have my desk facing a wall and the windows to my right. And to be honest, I never work in there. Like I store all of my stuff in there, but I always find myself working on my dining room table, which I don't really like. I don't like to like work necessarily where I eat. You know, I'm intentional about like keeping the energy in the spaces. Like I rarely work in my bedroom. Like your bedroom is not for working. Although I did gift myself a Friday morning of working on my laptop in my bed, and it was very nice. But I don't ever do that. But in my office, I find like I don't have
going
connection.
back to
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, going back to like the idea
and
of
I face sorry to interrupt, but when I face my dining room table, or when I'm working on my dining room table, I'm facing the window. So I see the water and I see the skyline, and that just breathes life into me.
So going back to Vastu Shatra, the whole idea is like you actually don't want to have a desk against, you don't want to face the wall.
Yeah.
You need to have a wall behind you because it's support.
Yeah.
And also like my office, like my desk intentionally, like it's open, it's my monitors, but then it's open space, and I face northeast. Like
and you also don't want a door behind you or to your left, right? You want the door of your office in front of you.
You do not want the door right in front of your desk. It has to actually need to be on the sides.
The left or the right. Yeah.
Left or to the right.
Yeah.
That, and also like you don't want like, there's the, going also to feng shui, you don't have a mirror that faces your bed if we're talking about homes.
Yes, for energy, for inviting third parties into your relationship. We don't want none of that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's different layers. But yeah, definitely, I know like when I started my company, I worked from my bedroom, and like it was not good for my mental health.
Yeah.
The minute I got an office, at first my desk faced the wall, and I'm like, I'm still like feeling somewhere stuck. Now that it's open, like I feel like there's so much creativity and flow.
Right. I mean, I know for me, like back, when I was living in the space I was living in before, I did have a designated area for my office, and that was great because I was facing windows. But for the most part, my bedroom was everything else. And I remember like so much energy going on that it was hard for me to relax. It was hard for me to sleep. It was hard for me, like, because I had another desk in there. I had a mirror and like all these things.
Yeah, it's
and
overwhelming.
There wasn't, like it was overwhelming. It wasn't conducive to an actual intentional night's rest where I could like dream and all of the things.
Yeah.
It wasn't giving me that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people that are working from home or are hybrid.
Which are like what, 90% of people are now working from home.
Yeah. It's like finding a small space designated to just work. So then your brain can subconsciously know you're in work or you're not doing work, and being intentional just to stay there. And like you said, you work one day from your bedroom, that's fine. Like it's like you need to create those boundaries. Like with anything in life, you create those boundaries, you hold them, but then you can create that 10-20% flexibility. Like, okay, maybe I'll work from my bed one time, but I'm not making it a habit.
No, yeah, for sure. That just was a whim, and I was just feeling extra luxurious that morning. So I was just like, whatever. I have things I have to do. Let me just, But yeah, it's interesting, even though I don't have anything else really in my bedroom, just my bed, my end tables, and my dresser. And I have my, just little like tchotchkes, but I don't overdo it. I just have things that make me feel good when I look at them.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it just, my bedroom and hip like just brings relaxation and sensuality for me. Like that's it.
Oh, I love
Whereas my living space the dining room, all of that's connected. And that's like, I have a blue velvet couch. Like it's definitely like relaxing and warm and, you know, all of the things. But it's so interesting how different I notice. And also like since having the conversation with you, now I just feel like I have something to kind of like package it a little bit where I'm like, yeah, well, this explains why I feel this way in that space. Or when you walk into someone's home and there's a lot of clutter around, like you feel, you know, like a little bit nervous.
Yeah, it's the lack of clarity, and then your brain just starts to go into a spiral.
Totally. So talking about bringing more nature in to your space, share a little bit, like, again, like some hacks for like larger spaces, people that have access to larger spaces, maybe people that have like an own homes, maybe people that are living in smaller, like 1 bedroom studios. Cause I also couldn't even imagine like living in a one, like a studio apartment, and how to differentiate all of the spaces there that your home has to serve you in a much smaller, more confined area. So if there's any like little design hacks that you can share.
Yeah. So I think when starting from a smaller space, we can use color blocking as a separation, which we have to be intentional because you don't want to have the whole rainbow just because you want to like let me do this, that. But like color blocking or using furniture flexibility.
What does color blocking mean exactly?
Like being intentional, saying if it's like, you know, a studio apartment, maybe the area that where your bed is or your living space is, it's one color, and then you create like a fun separation, like a detail on the wall, and then you go into something else.
Okay.
Or I love like, this is more on the interior design. It's like, I love those like foldable like walls, like, you know, the Asian kind of like dresser walls.
Yeah. I love those.
Yeah. You can use those as separations, and maybe you just intentionally use them for like, I'm working today, so I'm going to block this area and I'm just going to be here. And then the minute I'm done with work, it's going to be open again. So you can play with actually making your space smaller or bigger. So furniture is definitely a thing. I think microspaces are the hardest thing to kind of manipulate. I think it's also of being intentional of what you surround your senses with. Like, you don't want to be, if you are working from home, you don't want to, I know it's multitasking, we want to do that, but to actually calm your nervous system down, do not start cooking while you're still working. Do not have the TV on and do work in front. Sometimes a lot of this is not full design, but it's more intentional. Once you get bigger space, and once you get into a bigger space, say you have a full home and you feel like it's too open, and then you feel like there's no life, then it's playing with, can we create some separation? Can we play with some like foldable walls? Can we bring in plants and use plants or other furniture to create that separation? And I think warmth is important, like bringing in wood tones. I love bamboo, like bamboo flooring or like wall panels, just to create this differentiation through the spaces. Because if you have one color throughout the whole first floor, it's just gonna like create monotony and not create that separation. And then I'm thinking also in terms of when you create, if you have the budget, like interconnecting using smart home systems, where it's like, all right, yes, your shades go up at a certain time, so you bring in that natural light, and then your interior lights can mimic the exterior, so it moves with the nature, all in one. And I think that in itself will create duality in the space.
Moving from where I was to where I am now, obviously more city, vibrant life.
Yeah.
My bedroom is dark, but it's not as dark as it could be or what I've been used to because I have the bright lights of the city, which like I sound crazy like at all. I'm not even complaining about that. But when I pull the shades down and I like create a more intentionally darker space, I know I have like a deeper sleep. It's so like just those little kind of things that you can do for yourself. But like the day that I can have like a motorized blind to go up and down and really block out a space, that and a sauna in my home, and I know I've really made it. So what kinds of environments can naturally, or in terms of if we want to boost up our creativity or boost up our flow, what are some things that we could do or bring into our space to boost up creativity? Any like colors or patterns?
Yeah, I think in terms of patterns, you can have fun with either look at it as color patterns of like adding texture. Like I've become a big fan recently of like lime wash walls.
Lime wash walls. Okay.
Yeah. So also it's looking at the
texture.
the wellness side of things. So lime paint, it actually is breathable and it is healthier for us. If you use just latex paint, you know, that's gonna negatively affect us. That's toxic down the line.
Great.
So lime paint's like more natural and it breathes, especially if you have an older home, you want to use lime paint because those walls are meant to breathe and you want to like get rid of the moisture. But like the texture helps. Like sometimes it's like just feeling touch and seeing like, I love natural, bringing in that biophilic design. I know we're going to talk about this a little later, but that's like biophilic design is like, bringing in nature so you feel connected even when you're indoors. So natural patterns overall. So like spirals. You can bring in like leaves or roses, but you can be almost more unintentional of like looking at natural patterns. So like, oh, there's this like sometimes you look at like a swiggle in nature and just repeating that, it looks abstract, but it connects you back to the idea of something like nature. So
are you like referring to like the Fibonacci?
Yeah. Like, well, Fibonacci, it's also like my favorite thing is that like our nervous system, if you like extract it, it's literally looks like a tree, like the roots of a tree. So like even that idea of like, can we create some form of like abstraction like that?
I love that. My brain is percolating on all of that. So let's talk about biophilic design. What is biophilic design and how can we incorporate that into our spaces, our workspace or our home environment?
Yeah, so biophilic design, I just touched base a bit before. So biophilia is the idea of we are a living creature, so we are part of the living environment. And if you go back to our ancestors, we were one with nature. We were literally outside 95% of the time. So we're missing that connection. So biophilic design is bringing nature back into the interiors. And there's different layers. There's the being literal of let's bring in plants, let's use green, let's semi not literal, let's have artwork that's abstract to nature or just like having a scenic view. I love this new actually LED of light fixtures. Well, panels that act like they're actual windows, but they're not. And then you can be in Aruba. It can show Aruba through the fake window, but you know, like the sound. It also brings in the sound and everything.
Interesting.
So that actually calms people down. And then there's another sub connection to biophilic design is biomimicry. And that's about replicating the patterns or design.
Okay.
Nature has a lot of curves.
Yes.
We live in very boxy spaces. So how do we create curves into your home, your offices, to bring in that softness and flow?
I love that.
Yeah, like the Guggenheim. Everybody loves the Guggenheim because it's a spiral. It makes you pause.
Yeah.
It's not like one straight line. There's that movement within it.
Totally. Wow, I'm thinking about just back in the day, my sister, we were living in a space, or she was living in a space rather, and she had this huge piece, this huge portrait. I think she might have honestly got it from Target, but it was a huge portrait of a forest. And it was always I gravitated towards it because it was a small space that she was living in, but that really like opened up.
Yeah.
And it just, anytime you looked at it, it just made you think of nature. It made you think of how you feel when you're in a forest, when you're, surrounded by a bunch of trees, you feel calm, you feel quiet. And that was a space that she was living in Queens. Like there was no forest around her, but it was so interesting how that wasn't a plant that she brought in. It was, a $30 piece from Target, but it was it was massive. Took up almost the whole wall, and it really did transform the energy of the space. And anytime I would look at it, was just so soothing.
Yeah, it's our memory because we have certain feelings connected to memory. So nature to almost everyone, it's like calm, relax. So it kind of suits you and connects you down. Like everyone has those mechanisms or tools to kind of get your nervous system to like a calm state. And nature does that to probably 95% of the people. I'm sure someone who's had some tragic incident of falling, they probably don't want to see that. But maybe it's water instead of the forest. Or it's birds or butterflies. So there's different things that we can pick on. And it's all individualistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. So you teach some courses.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about those, or just maybe pick one that you want to kind of deep dive a little bit for me. Because you have so much on your website that I love.
Thank you. Yeah. I decided when I started my company that I didn't want to be just a traditional architect. I wanted to educate, advocate, and like talk about what I really care about. Yeah. And so I have, I mean, I'm just going to kind of touch base generally all of them and then dive into one. So I do have one on like timeless designs. So it's one of those things like if you do want to look at your home as a investment property and you don't want to customize it to yourself, what can you do that actually will benefit everyone and actually be sellable without just putting lipstick on a pig, what I call what those fast-paced investors do. I have one on sensory-friendly architecture for neurodivergence, so that kind of touches base a little bit more in depth what we talked about. Yeah. And I have one on wellness spaces, in talking about how you can bring in wellness into your space. And then my other one is about accessibility for all. This touches base idea not only for disability, like and making it more inclusive. Like you don't want the ramp in the back, making people go wet. And it's not just like...
You want it exactly where the stairs are. Yeah. You want everybody to have the same access to the building, for sure.
And I also talked about cultural accessibility of like creating spaces that bring in the people in that area culturally. Like, yes, brands have their... companies have their brand, their look and everything. But if you're putting... a retail store in a highly dense Latino community, can you create everything bilingually? Can you bring in some of that vibrant colors in a subtle way? Because, or just use like the more softer colors that Latin culture likes. And or even if like, or like I've designed space in Chinatown, I dove into like what colors mean in Chinese culture.
Well, because red and gold are abundance and prosperity, right?
Yeah. And then like black and metal, they all have a certain energy involvement. So you want to be very intentional because that's how you attract people. Yeah. Like your store is your brand too. Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts or hacks on inviting more abundance into a space, like certain colors to create more just
abundance? Yeah. I feel like this is not a tradition. This is not the device of a traditional architect. That's
why I have you on here because you're not a traditional architect.
Going into my spiritual end of things. I love it. So I'm big on like for prosperity. It is the idea of like gold. You want to have green. And there's also I love bringing in natural stones because I'm big on crystals.
Me too.
Well, how can you bring like natural materials because they have energy. They bring in positive elements. So I'm big on bringing in like, can we have actually solid wood, not foxwood tables, chairs? Can we also talk about that Vastu Shastra or Feng Shui? How do we align furniture, the room, so then we can actually attract that energy? Yes. So I think it's multi-layered in that sense. But I think if you just want to start with it, it's like be intentional. Create a space also for like an altar for yourself where you can actually sit and pause and breathe. And like creating those spaces, that separation of, okay, this is where I'll do a couple minutes of breath work. And then let me turn around and this is where I'll focus and do work. And then things like that.
Having like a designated little meditation area.
Yeah. I have that in my bedroom. Like I love that. I have like a little bed, it's like a yoga pillow. Like it's the size of a yoga mat, but it's like an actual pillow. And I have my tarot cards and my crystals on one side. And then I have, my dedicated journaling corner. And I have moments in my room, but it cohesively works for me.
I love that. I have my altar. As soon as I walk into my condo, I have it right on the far, but I see it every time I enter in and I leave the space.
Yeah.
And I have my photo there of my mom and I have all of my tarot cards and my decks and everything. And it's just, for me, maybe this is just the way that my brain, like my neurodiversity or my neurodivergence is, I need to see those things to remind me of a connection that's bigger than me.
Yes.
Right. And that's what keeps me grounded throughout my day. Because if I kind of go about and I don't see that visually, sometimes you get caught up in the day-to-day bullshit that just doesn't serve you. Right. But if you have access, or if you can put visibly in a space where you can see it, right, it just keeps your mission bigger than yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then it's like also like when you walk in to your house, I'm big on like creating like a mudroom or a space to pause. Like you take your shoes off, you hang your coat, like you
before you enter in.
you
to
leave
your
the
space.
dirt there.
Yes, you leave the outside.
Yeah, you leave the outside there.
Yes, like that little intermission space.
Yeah, but still with that visibility, when you open the door, you don't want to go just have a wall right there.
No,
that stops
energy
prosperity
flow
from coming.
Totally.
But there's also this idea like you don't want the negative energy coming in. So that's the idea of like how do you shape spaces? Like maybe it opens up to, it looks through to like, there's another window across like on the back. So there's like, you're connected to nature. It doesn't like go straight into like one of your private spaces. You don't want to like open straight to a bedroom door.
Right.
Or something too personal.
Right.
Yeah, so like having the pause, the connection, and it's the flow of how the spaces are connected. Like I definitely think that, and this is more practical, you need to have bathrooms back to back just to be safe, efficient with plumbing. But so this idea, like you have all these like water elements together, connected, and then you can have all the private spaces separately. You separate like things. You don't want to have all these sounds also negatively affecting and overwhelming you. Like, you know, sometimes in uninsulated homes, you're sleeping and then you hear like the bathroom flush and then throws your sleeping off and other things. But how do you renovate or create a new home that can mitigate all of that?
Interesting. I love this conversation so much. Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Are there any design features? So I think we talked the first time we ever connected. I think you mentioned something about archways.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So I love arches. It's connecting back to like curbs, like in nature. Like this was a Latin culture, I guess, for me.
Yeah.
Arches just create softness.
Archways instead of the traditional square.
Traditional square, because like having a lot of rectilinear lines, also that is very harsh energy. And adding archways also creates a smoother subconscious transition from one space to another. And it can be a literal like archway opening, or it can be like even like designing a feature wall that has a certain pattern that has arches, just to create that connectivity of like, oh, this is natural, this is moving.
Yes.
It is tricky and expensive to find a lot of arch doors, but I think the openings themselves can be arch. Or I love adding just the half moon like circle door on top, just to create that flow and connection.
I like that. Now, transitioning really quickly from the home to business spaces, right? Because you also design those spaces. So what are some design elements that business owners can have or keep in mind when they're designing their business space?
Yes, I think when it comes to offices, or I do like medical facilities or like wellness spaces overall, is understanding what is the sequence of people using the space. That's the biggest thing. Like the programming, like are your clients gonna experience the whole space, or are there gonna be spaces just for your employees? Once we know that dialogue of like private, semi-private, and public, it's creating that different energies. The public space needs to be your brand. You want to create that calm, almost home hospitality, like so your clients feel at home, comfortable, trust. You want to build trust. Like a lot of law firms use blue, because that darker blue, because that is kind of like more formality, trust, connection. But at the same time, those semi-public spaces, you want to think about the focus. You want to make sure you're not being you're getting to to the point, because that's where I'm just going to use the law firm as an idea.
Yeah, no,
that's where you're meeting the client. You want to get to business. You also want to keep that trust and privacy. Acoustics are going to be a big thing about that. I think it can be done affordably by, if you already have the space, investing in some panels, creates texture and a nice design for the space, or baffles in the ceiling. But if you're building something new, let's add insulation into the walls and making sure they have that privacy. And then during the private areas where it's like the business only, employees only, how do you create also, which is not super private, but the idea of like, how do you create a moment for the people to interact, to feel like they can collaborate, but then moments where they can actually focus and do the work and be productive.
Yeah.
And there's also like, you might want that bright light, but how do you actually dim it down? Because you also want them to be rested. So maybe around like 3 or 4, you start changing the color temperature so they feel better.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love the intention behind it.
Yeah.
So much intention and just things that you wouldn't necessarily think about in terms of integrating and just keeping energetic flow in a space.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. I actually, my friend who is a lawyer, we did her space in Queens, and she had a beautiful corner office space. So 2 sides had windows.
Epic.
All those offices, that L-shaped area, were all the offices. We used glass, so then the natural light penetrated into the hallways, into the communal space where they would have like events, because she also does a lot of events.
Cool.
But the conference room is the one place we kept quiet, private, no natural light, intentionally, just so people felt safe, because she does like injury attorney. She does a lot of like, private information that people don't want to hear.
Yeah.
So, and that was actually just off of the like the little lobby waiting area. So they can just go in and out, because she also wanted the natural light, but she didn't want to get, have the clients come in. It's like, is Katique here?
Yeah.
Like, can we get in there? So we created that sequence of privacy with openness at the same time.
I love that. Beautiful. Is there anything else that you want to share? Because we're coming down to the last few minutes of our time together. But
yes.
So any other, just little insights or anything that you want to share that you feel that we didn't get to touch on today, or if not, and you want to tell the people where they can find you, work with you, learn more about the courses that you offer.
Yeah. I guess kind of to recap everything we talked about is that we are individuals, and your spaces should be catered to you.
Yes.
So when you are working on renovating, adding addition, or just starting something completely new, being intentional and pausing and thinking about, what does this mean to me? How am I going to use it? Because you want to make sure that it's catered to the best of your capabilities. You'll be more productive. You actually will bring more money into and prosperity. At the end of the day, I think also it's how can we benefit our living environment? So thinking about doing things not only for ourselves, but for our environment. Like I'm big on geothermal energy.
Okay.
That's like you use the earth to heat and cool your spaces.
Oh.
Which is also technically biophilic, because you are using nature in
is that
some
like
ways.
Solar energy?
Something like that, yes.
Okay.
So if you use solar energy and that, you basically are almost net zero of like electricity. So then you're saving money. You might invest up front, but down the line you're not paying the big corporations, which is a big deal in today's day and age.
Yes, amen.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to go even deeper on all of that or more, like I said, I love educating through all social media. So my Instagram is rooted_architecture. We post Monday through Friday, different content. Rootedarchitecturestudio.com is my website. We have free booklets. I have a booklet on the 5 senses and how to integrate it in a DIY way to help you. And then, as I mentioned, like you brought up, our courses, and our phone number is 516-253-5311 if you actually want to do a project or just talk about it.
Because sometimes it's nice to just pick up the phone and call somebody.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that, Catherine. I like that you just dropped down the phone line. I like that.
I get clients from like I run my company bilingually, so I get, the minority Latin culture, they're like, I just want to talk.
Yeah.
And then there's
I just want to connect. I want to have a verbal conversation with a human being.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's like the other side where it's like, the hardworking millennial who like just is in tech mode. So we're like, we'll do everything through email and do it that way.
Beautiful. Well, I love that. Thank you so much for all of the insight and information and just your energy today.
Thank you.
Bringing it to the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So if this episode resonated with you or a friend, please share, and we will catch you next week on another episode of Juice is the New Tea. Thank you. This episode of Juice is the New Tea was brought to you by A&G Wallpaper. Your space should reflect your style, and A&G Wallpaper makes that easy. Whether it's your home, office, or studio, A&G's expert craftsmanship ensures a flawless finish every time. Get in touch with A&G and turn your walls into something worth talking about. Visit our show links for more details on booking and consultation. Juice is the New Tea is brought to you by Cleanse Juices. For more information on 3-day juice cleanses and 4 flavor packs, visit iamcleanse.com. Use code JUICEISTHENEWT for 10% off all orders.